The Golden Knights' Brett Howden was among 22 restricted free agents to file for arbitration on Wednesday. Will the team continue negotiations before the arbitration hearing, which is scheduled for sometime later this month or early August?
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi, everyone. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas, home of the MSG Sphere. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Subscribe on the YouTube channel, Locked On Golden Knights. Find us on Twitter at TDChrisG. That's him. I'm at Tony Dasco at Locked On VGK. And make sure that you find our podcast wherever you get your podcast. So, Chris, if history does indeed repeat itself with the Golden Knights franchise, VGK will probably settle Brett Howden's contract before it reaches the arbiter in this case. The case could be heard, as we mentioned, sometime later in July or early August. So first, some past arbitration history, right? Because we kind of touched on this a little bit yesterday because you saw the deadline coming up yesterday on Wednesday. Typically, VGK has avoided arbitration except for once, right? I think that was our history. Nate Schmidt, he went to the arbitrator and his salary went from $1 million to a 2-year, $4.4 million contract. William Karlsson, that case, of course, well documented. Season number 1, scored 43 goals in the season, was making about $1 million. And then he settled before it reached the arbiter. It was a 1-year, $5.25 million contract. And a year later, of course, that escalated to $6 million plus. And Keegan Colasar avoided arbitration for the VGK. So Brett Howden, does he really deserve Mr. Arbiter? Does he really deserve more than the offer of $1.5 million? That's what he made this past season. And you have to make an offer sheet of at least 100% what they made the previous season. And I say absolutely not. I say no. He does not deserve more than 1.5. I'm a little bit stingy these days because of a salary cap. 54 regular season games played, 13 points, 10 points in 22 playoff games. And VGK also now is up against the cap, and they can ill afford to pay more than $1.5 million, right?
There's a little bit of room. There's obviously a few more things that the two-way contracts will really determine how much exactly they can pay for Howden. I think I've read up to right now with Howden not on the books, they're sitting right around $3.5 million, and that's also without Robin Leonard on the books. So that's obviously has to happen. So $3.5 million, I mean, they can afford it. It would be nice to not have to pay him much more than 1.5. So you do have some money left to do something in the off season. I got to think McCrimmon's got something else coming, but that's obviously probably not happening anytime soon, but it's a tale of two players, right? So in column A, you have the Brett Howden, who the season previous to this is the 21-22 season. We're looking at 13.
He had 9 goals, right? 9 goals.
Yeah. So basically he had a regression year over year in the regular season. He had 20
That's
points.
Not gonna help his case.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. He had 20 points, 47 games, and then 22-23, 13 points, 54 regular season games. Now, and that's obviously the Brett Howden that the Golden Knights are trying to pay. Now, column B, you have the Brett Howden who's going to say, I'm the line 2 winger alongside of Mark Stone.
I have my own line.
I have my own line. Exactly.
Like the Brett Howden line.
Exactly. And then on that guy that's on that line, I'm a line 2 winger that got 10 points in the playoffs. Pay me. And I think this is honestly probably more of a placeholder. I don't know if this necessarily will go to arbitration. If it does, I don't think the Golden Knights have a whole lot to fear, honestly, in this case, because I think the arbiter will look at not just the playoff performance, but the regular season performance. And I mean, what's the most Like, what is the most an arbiter is going to give him? 1.875,
Right. He
something
won't.
along
It
those
won't be two.
lines.
It won't be 2 million. I don't think so.
I
Yeah,
don't
it'd
think
be a
it's $2
waste of
million.
time.
And I think the Golden Knights were smart in saying, okay, here's your qualifying offer. Then now you get down to brass tacks and negotiate and try and get it worked out, of course, before the arbiter has to get involved, because that's not a great look for anybody. But if it gets to that point, so be it. Brett Howden probably has more to gain than lose by going to arbitration in this case.
So Cowabunga, Chris. Okay, so stats from the previous seasons. Wow, you did get sunburned.
It
Stats
hurts.
from the previous seasons. These are the arguments that they look for. Players' length of service with VGK two seasons, and in the league, think it was 3 years with the Rangers. Overall contributions to the team's success they will look at, and again, does he have special qualities, which is something that I really never looked at when a player went to arbitration. So special qualities being, does he have leadership qualities? Does he have popular appeal? Well, he has his own line. That should be popular enough. No, I mean, he doesn't really have either. I mean, he's one of those depth guys who they need in this lineup, again, for continuity and consistency and chemistry's sake. But they could live without a Brett Howden. Right?
He's not a lock to be on the roster day one, the opening night 18 skater roster. He's not a lock to be in the top 12 forwards. There will be some competition. You're going to have Cotter and Dorofeev, looking at people like Howden, looking at Amadio, looking at those types, even all the way down to Kolasar, depending on how that looks. So Howden is not a lock to have his own line, let alone be in the lineup on day one. Now, will Howden, assuming all goes well with whatever happens in the offseason with his contract, will he be on the ice for probably 50 plus games? Yes. Will he get between 15 and 25 points? Yes. If the Golden Knights have 22 playoff games played, will he get 10 more points? Maybe. I mean, how much of Brett Howden's 10 points scored were just a result, a product of the overall scoring just going absolutely bonkers throughout the playoffs? I mean, the Golden Knights were scoring on every single opponent at will. We haven't seen this type of scoring out of the Golden Knights ever. End of story. So there has to be a little bit of, okay, he was a part of this amazing, unsustainable, there you go, Tony, first time today, this amazing, unsustainable lightning in a bottle in the playoffs. And good for Howden, like, good for him. He was great. 10 points out of, someone who had 13 points in the regular season. That's remarkable. It certainly helped. Would the Golden Knights have lost the Stanley Cup if Howden didn't have 10 points? I don't think so.
Yeah. And if you are Brett Howden's agent, you'll go in there armed also with any comparables to any other player that could be in his realm. Whoa.
I mean, do you have that? Do you have that information?
No. Okay. I don't know who's comparable to Howden. I mean, he's in a class by himself. He's a really good complementary player, is what Brett Howden is.
Absolutely. Right? He's a Swiss Army type. He can play center on the lower six. He can play wing on the upper six when needed. And he's that player that every single National Hockey League team needs to, make a deep run, like a Matt Carpenter type, like a Pierre-Edouard Bellemare type, Tomas Nosek, who's still a free agent to this day. I actually
like
mentioned
him. I like him as a player. And Cassidy, you had alluded to in one of your articles in Vegas Hockey Now, a little plug in there for you.
I'll take it.
Yeah, but you alluded to the fact that he could be a good fit. He is such a heavy player. I've always liked the game of Tomas Nosek.
Yeah, I mean, Nosek, he's fun. He's a good dude. I wrote in the high roller with him once, and it was fun listening to him talk and all that. And he's not going to score a ton of points, but he will play 75 games. I mean, that's what he did with Cassidy. He played 75 regular season games and all 7 of their playoff games when they lost to the Hurricanes a couple seasons ago. And he knows the Golden Knights, obviously. He knows his way around Summerlin. He knows his way around T-Mobile. And you can never have enough depth at all positions, as we have learned throughout the Golden Knights history, especially the last 2 seasons with all the injury issues.
So you're saying about 1.8.
1.875. That's my number. If the two teams agree, maybe 1.75. If it goes to arbitration, which I doubt it will, I'll go 1.875.
Okay. And I think he's probably wanting about 2 million.
I think you're probably right, honestly.
And this comes again, winning hurts. Of course, arbitration hurts too.
Arbitration hurts. That's funny.
Goaltender Logan Thompson was suited up at development camp on yesterday. We talk about LT and our continuing lack of confidence in the goaltending position for VGK.
Perfect buildup.
Back with more after this on Locked On Golden Knights. Take your first swing at betting Major League Baseball on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you will land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. It's $200 that you could spend on more of your bets, everything from money line bets to the over-under to who you think is going to hit that first home run. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. You get paid instantly, by the way. So sign up today. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, the official betting partner of Major League Baseball. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. We appreciate you doing so. And also go to the YouTube channel and please subscribe there. You know, talking about Major League Baseball, I was watching the game yesterday with the Reds, and Ellie De La Cruz in the second inning, they checked his bat, and the knob on the bat had something sort of attached to it. It looked like, you know what it looked like? A Mark Stone hockey stick with that big knob on the top, right?
Sure.
So they checked it. They put the bat back in play. He was pissed off, comes out later on, fifth inning, and he hits a home run. Of course, comes around and just holds out the bat for the umpire. Do you want to check it again? So it was a facial. But again, go to FanDuel. That was the bottom line. Okay. So, Chris, yesterday we saw Logan Thompson showing up at development camp, and he got some work in. No reports officially of what he did, and they need a pool reporter. Everything that VGK does to tell us more information about what's going on or what happened. Oh, here's Logan Thompson. Wow, looks pretty. It's great. Okay, he's got the kit going, all that. The kit and the fit, as they say. Okay, he's on the ice. We don't know what his results were. How much did he work? What did he do? Nothing. It's almost as though they gave us a blackout there. We need a pool reporter. You still aren't believing in this goalie position. My thoughts are that Aiden Hill, again, at times you have to wonder, could he have been a flash in the pan? Again, what are the results of Logan Thompson and coming back from injury? Now, last night I did see him at the Aces game, and he appeared to be just a little sore, right? Probably got a good workout in. I don't know. Who knows? Was there just drinking his Mick Ultra Light.
Life is good. Life is good.
No, so I mean, for me, I'm still not sold on whether this is a sustainable goalie.
There it is. On talent itself, it is a great signing by Kelly McCrimmon. If the only thing we're going to evaluate is the talent abilities of Logan Thompson at Aiden Hill, then it's great, right? I mean, in a tandem situation, Tony, what do you think? The number is...
You said 60-40.
I mean, no, what I'm going to say is I think how many starts should they collectively have between the two of them? Obviously, 82 would be nice, but it's probably not going to be like that. And it's never like that in this town. So if they can get 70 to 73 starts, and if Patera has to fill in for between 8 and 10 games, I think that's okay, right? I'm okay with that. If that's how it shakes out. Okay.
Yeah.
If it shakes out like that, then everything is going to be fine. Is Logan Hill getting paid? Look, I did it again. Logan Hill. Oh my God. I got something going on here. I need more sunburn or something. I got to do it by the last names.
Hill.
If Thompson can go 40 games, if Hill, God, this is so bad. If Hill can go 40-ish games, then life is going to be good. The biggest concern isn't Hill and Thompson. It's Patera. It's Patera being the third goalie up. I think perfect, just to put a quick bow on this, there needs to be another goalie between Patera And then obviously Hill and Thompson, someone with NHL experience, someone who can be counted on. Listen, Jonathan Quick, his numbers in LA were less than admirable, but he gave us, I think, 12 or 13 very quality starts down the stretch there. And if the team doesn't have Jonathan Quick and Brossoit for that matter, that's another 6 or 7 starts. So now we're at 20 starts between those two. The Golden Knights, they don't win the Pacific. And if they don't win the Pacific, do they still roll through the playoffs the way they do? I mean, everything changes, butterfly effect, we can ripple effect, however you want to talk about that. But if Patera is the one taking those starts, I mean, listen, maybe Patera is going to be great. Maybe Patera becomes the next Aiden Hill. I mean, who knows the way things go in this town. Logan Thompson, looking at his numbers here, his AHL starts, this is interesting here, in 2020, 21, 23 AHL starts. Mm-hmm. In 21, 22, 26 AHL starts. 22, 23 Vegas Golden Knights, 37 starts. And then we know obviously very well what Aiden Hill's numbers are. He started a small handful of games early in his career. I think with the Sharks last season, it was 25 games. With the Golden Knights last season, it was 27 games. How can the Golden Knights confidently say we're getting 70 plus games between these two and that they're both going to be healthy down the stretch? That's the concern. That is the concern. Now, long story longer here, May McCrimmon is simply taking a wait and see approach. He's going to wait and see how long these two goalies do stay healthy for. Maybe it all works out and they're healthy all the way through the season, and everyone can rub my nose in all of this come next May. And I'm okay with that if that's exactly how this ends up shaking out. But you got to think McCrimmon has a plan B, right? If one of the goalies goes down, other skaters are going to go down. Golden Knights actually got a little more as far as the draft picks go for the next 2 seasons as well. So they do have assets and, future considerations and all sorts of fun things to offer to possibly plug the goalie situation should one of the two go down. But I'm just not confident in the health, nothing to do with the ability. I am not confident in the health that Hill and Thompson are going to give us 73 starts next year.
And that's very fair. It's a fair assessment. Not a very large sample size for either one of these goaltenders.
Which is a problem.
Right. And one of my concerns, Chris, has to be they hadn't faced a lot of adversity. They were injured, yes, or whatever, but neither goalie went through a long stretch or a long losing streak. So what happens there? Like you lose a couple of games. Do you get down on yourself?
Thompson had a little bit of a time like that where you could tell he was shaking pretty good around November, I want to say.
Yeah. And then what about these starts for Aiden Hill? Aiden Hill's shaky at best in the playoffs. What about 75, 80% of the time in games, got off to rocky starts, didn't look comfortable. And then, of course, he settled down. Another thing that we have to really ponder here is, will that defense be as good as it was this past season? I mean, blocking all those shots, that takes a major toll on players. Yes, they want to play for each other, but how much can these bodies, especially that of Alec Martinez, how much can his body take?
No, and that's probably the best take in this whole, 7-minute conversation we're having right here is, can the defense continue? I mean, sustainability, that is such, I think McCrimmon has that written in his office, and, maybe when he goes down the stairs in his house, he has the sign that says sustainable. He pats it as he walks out the door and stuff like that. The defense, it's got to regress at some point. It has to. It's just, they're not going to be as good year over year. It's not a knock on them. Just people are getting older. Father time is still undefeated, folks, no matter how you want to twist that. Going back to the sustainability factor of Hill and Thompson, like, this is very unproven. And we've seen, Golden Knights get paid after career seasons. William Karlsson, of course. Nate Schmidt got that huge bump who, was he worth that? I don't know about that.
No,
so not. This is kind of uncharacteristic, if you will, for Kelly McCrimmon. But maybe this is the loyalty factor. Maybe this is the loyalty factor that everyone in the National Hockey League doesn't think the Golden Knights do have to their players. They're literally keeping the same roster, sans Riley Smith and probably Phil Kessel at this point together. Riley 5-0. No, Golick 5-0. God, this hurts. That hurts. We were at Cowabunga Canyon, lazy river got me, and I didn't put enough sunscreen on. And although WTT, what the Thursday, okay?
Yeah.
We were walking our kids back to the play area at Cowabunga Canyon. We're going to run to the restroom. We tell the kids go off and play and do their thing. And Amanda, my wife, looks at me. She's like, is it me or is the water not on? And sure enough, everything turned off. So the only thing that was open for as we were walking out of there were like these two big water slides in the back, and then like the pool area where the lazy river was, and the waveless wave pool. Whatever shoots all that water up and all that just stopped working. I don't know how long it was out for. But yeah, it was at the end of our day, so it wasn't a big deal. But there was other people there that they were definitely they were looking for a manager. They were looking for a manager. Oh,
those kids are having a terrific summer, man. And I know they're enjoying every ounce of every.
It's good to get out. I spend way too much time in this office doing this work, so it's so nice getting out and doing that stuff. So nice.
Just like a host of Locked On Golden Knights, do you still believe that any goalie can play with that defense in front? There's been that theory, right, all along, that you could put anyone in net, and defensively with the structure that Cassidy has, any goalie could do well. So why not? Why can't the other guy, Patera, do well?
No, and that's fair. And I did say, John, I think the Golden Knights could have had Jonathan Quick back there all playoff. And I think they probably get the job done too. I mean, maybe the Edmonton series goes 7, maybe Florida goes 6, however you want to shake that out. I really think it was just that good of, the stars aligning, no pun intended for the Dallas Stars there. So yes, and that's very, very, very fair. Maybe Patera comes in there and he makes his layups and everything kind of takes care of itself. It can happen. It 100% can happen. I hope it does happen, because if another goalie is not signed, Patera, we're going to see a lot of them. And I'm not saying I lack confidence in him. I'm saying he started twice at the National Hockey League level. He won both games, obviously. He did fine. Is he the goalie where if he needs to start 6 games in a row, can he do it? Can he do that? And, we saw Brossoit, wear down in the past, starting that many games. Right. Logan Thompson, I don't know if he ever started that many games in a row. Aiden Hill, obviously down the playoffs and all that. Sure, he did great, but the sustainability factor. I mean, it's amazing. Like we have these conversations, and we're just going to get grilled now on YouTube and the comments and Twitter and everything. But people have a lot of trust in McCrimmon, and they should. But the sustainability factor of these two goalies, it's not proven. No one can argue that point. It's not proven. I will confidently say that.
Coming up next, will the VGK coaching staff changes lead to perhaps a decline in production? Could VGK slip some without some key pieces to their coaching staff? We'll return with more right after this on Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Don't forget, coming up on tomorrow's show, it's WTF, What the Friday. Please get those comments cooking for us and leave those at Locked On VGK on our Twitter handle, and make sure that you subscribe to Locked On Golden Knights on the YouTube page. Do you believe, Chris, that there will be some drop-off for VGK with the departure of a couple of coaches, some integral parts to this coaching staff, even though Cassidy had to live with them and they were holdovers? Okay, get over that. But Misha Donskov, of course, and Ryan Craig, will there be some slippage? I had to use that term. Do you think on the coaching staff? Hey, we talked about the chemistry and the continuity. Larry Brossoit even said this team was a success because it had that core dating back to season 1 with those misfits. These were misfit coaches. These were coaches that were with the organization from day one, and now they're suddenly going to be missing from the bench. I think it does have some sort of an impact personally.
It will have. So let's talk about Ryan Craig by himself first. Ryan Craig going down to coach, to become the head coach in the American League for the Silver Knights, is a net gain for the organization, Tony, as a whole. Now Ryan Craig is going to directly take Bruce Cassidy's system and knowledge, and he knows exactly what Bruce Cassidy wants to see out of these players when they do make that jump. So the players coming up from the AHL, Pahal, Dorofeev, if he's going to go up and back, Miramanov, we're going to focus more on the defense, obviously. Keaton Korczak, players like that. Ryan Craig is going to have them, I think, set up for better success than former coach Manny Viveros. And, Viveros also was, a day oneer, so to speak, as well. So not necessarily, Cassidy's guy, not a knock on him, just the reality that there was a disconnect from the American level to the national level. Ryan Craig is going to bridge that gap a little bit. That does obviously take away some of the continuity behind the bench and the familiarity of it not being Ryan Craig. I really wonder, first of all, when they're going to fill this void. That's my first question. And then I think the only possible, at least internal candidate, is going to be Joel Ward. Ward has been, I think, on Viveros's roster as well since day one. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong, but he's been with the Silver Knights for a couple of seasons now. Long history, obviously, at the National Hockey League level. So I think he's ready to make that jump. And then now you still have someone with, the familiarity of some of these players who have gone through the American League system and just, a familiarity with, being around these players in Summerlin and Henderson. So there'll be a little bit of a concern maybe early on, but I don't think, especially if Joel Ward is the one who does take that spot, I think it's going to be plug and play and everything's going to be okay. Donskoff, I mean, just let me read his.
Can I just say
responsibilities?
For 1 second, I think Donskoff might have had a case of the LTs of the Logan Thompsons. Maybe he thought that he was overlooked for that coaching position with Henderson. And
maybe I don't know. Like
there was still something strange about his departure. I'm sorry. The 10 o'clock at night tweet. Good luck with your future endeavors. That's somebody getting kicked to the curb.
They're bearing it definitely. I don't think it was a happy ending. I think we can agree on that. So looking at his responsibilities,
you wanted me to say something about happy endings. That was a nice.
I wasn't. No.
Okay.
No. We're not going down that route, Tony. Yikes. So he provides day-to-day leadership to the Knights team's management group and hockey operations department. Responsibilities include overseeing video technology, analytics, managing the amateur and pro scouting administrative platforms, scouting and player evaluation at the amateur and pro levels, and providing support to the coaching staff. And then, of course, he advises all this to McPhee and McCrimmon. So I don't know if anyone knows these players more inside and out than Donskoff does, as far as everything that he brings to the team and all of that. So I think that's where the concern could be. You look at the players that have been mined, if you will, Nick Waugh, Chandler Stevenson, and then you look at players, like Kolesar on the fourth line, and you look at White Cloud, you look at Nick Hague, and then Dorofeev, and some of these other players who, were scouted, drafted from other leagues and stuff like that. And, Logan Thompson, I mean, undrafted. There you go. There's another one. Who can they possibly get to fill that role? And I do wonder, you mentioned about the coaching situation in Henderson. I don't know what the trajectory is of someone like Donskoff and that role. Is his job to elevate more on the management side, like, assistant general manager, and president of hockey ops, or does he go the other way and go and stay behind the bench and do the coaching thing? I don't know. But I am 100% with you that this was not a proper ending.
It wasn't a mutual parting, right? It was not.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen any stories out there. I haven't.
No, of course, we haven't seen anything about Logan Thompson. There's no poll reporters. We can't get any good pub here.
We get what they want us to have.
Okay, so I'm just wonder what is going on behind the scenes with South Beach Bruce and Kelly McEyebrows.
I forgot to take a picture. So there's actually a sign at Cowabunga Canyon where like the kids area is. And there's this there's the big pole that points to all these different places. And there was actually a sign pointing to South Beach. I was going to take a picture and like do like a Photoshop with Bruce Cassidy in there, but I got too much sunburn and I forgot.
I wonder if Cassidy feels like, again, after season one, he has more of a voice, right, with the team and with the organization.
In the locker room, yes. Nowhere else.
Yeah, see, who knows? I mean, success just... winning hurts, man.
So the movie Rockstar, you got me going here, Tony. Mark Wahlberg, he's in a tribute band for a band that he absolutely loves. What's the name of the band in the movie? Whatever, someone can hit me on that. And he winds up actually becoming the lead singer of the band because something happens with the singer of the band. So he does this thing. He tours with them for a couple of years, does the whole Rockstar thing, and all the stuff that comes along with that. And then they go into the studio to record like the next album, right? and he goes in there with like artwork and stuff like that for the album cover and some songs. And then the other band members are like, no, you're going to sing what we tell you to sing. You think you have a voice, you don't. So I think maybe that's the picture that you're drawing. But long story longer, again, it's become my favorite thing. Keith Berza, shout out to Keith Berza. He's the one who gave me that quote, one of my former directors I worked under with Caesars. But Cassidy knows McCrimmon, it's his roster. I mean, Cassidy even made the comment, hey, I'll be on the golf course, I'll take the call, but otherwise I'm going back golfing. And Cassidy's gonna get the roster that McCrimmon / McPhee feel he needs, and it worked. We go back to this lovely press conference when McCrimmon had to sit next to Cassidy when Cassidy was announced as the coach, and McCrimmon was there to overspeak and say more and remind Cassidy that the roster composition is independent of the coaching. I forgot what the terminology was, but it was basically, hey, it's my roster. You get the roster, you coach, I'll build the roster, and everything's going to work out just fine. And it did.
Yeah, for sure. Well, up here you have a little graphic here with the hands, because I'm Italian, right? So the made men are up here, and then you've got like this pit boss, who's Cassidy, like right below them. And the pit boss wants to bring in some of his Goombas. He wants to bring in some of his buddies now to be assistant coaches, right? And so, or does Cassidy, one of the made men up here, or McCrimmon, the made man up here, does McCrimmon now just make the signal call and bring up someone from the Wheat Kings or somewhere else to fill those roles with the VGK? That's what I'm curious about. Will Cassidy have influence on who these new assistant coaches will be?
I get the feeling that McCrimmon, McPhee, not necessarily fully in this case, but definitely I think McCrimmon and McPhee
with the players still.
Right, exactly. But I think they spelled out the expectations. I think McCrimmon basically put Cassidy in his place and said, no wrestling, right? Know your role and shut your hole, right? Something along the lines of that. I really do think Cassidy understands that McCrimmon's going to put the roster together, and he's fine with it. I mean, I'm sure they have some conversations. Like, this is not completely McCrimmon closing the door. I'm sure there are some conversations. It would be. I mean, that would be the reality show that would be absolutely remarkable. Screw this nonsense with Hard Knocks and all that stuff. I'm tired of all that fluff. I want to see like actual, like, as crazy as this sounds, like, I want to see a camera of like the second a player goes down the tunnel for an injury. I want to see that moment right there. Like, what happens as they're trying to get the player back on the ice? Like Jack Eichel, prime example. He gets blasted by Tkachuk. He goes down. Give me 4 minutes of coverage of that, and to see what they're doing to him in the locker room. Give me that type of stuff, or give me the behind the scenes stuff when the owner, the general manager, the coach, they're all kind of having these off-season meetings about expectations and everything. Give me that stuff. I'm tired of other stuff. That's somewhere where the NHL can really do it.
Answer my question.
You got a question?
So, okay, in there, sort of, I threw in a little. It was one of those questions that I just kind of slid in there subliminally. Now I forgot what it was. No, the question was, will Cassidy have some influence on who the new assistant coaches are going to be?
No, minimal. If they go with someone that Cassidy maybe has bumped elbows with or cross paths with somewhere, then maybe. But if it's going to be an internal hire, if it's going to be something like that, I don't think so. I mean, what voice has Cassidy had so far?
Yeah, who knows, right? But those other assistant coaches, I think, were his call. John Stevens' call, I think, was definitely his. Sean Burke, I think, was his.
Well, Stevens was with the team for forever, but Burke was definitely hired, yes, after the fact. I don't know who was hired first.
Stevens was with Dallas previously and then came in. He brought Stevens in with him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, John Stevens. Yeah, no, you got.
I'm thinking someone else. Then.
Exactly.
No, there's another Ryan, the defensive coach, not Stevens. The other. It's another Ryan name, so forgive me for not knowing.
And then
Ryan McGill. There,
Ryan McGill.
It's right below. I sound a lot less knowledgeable than I am, but okay.
It's all good. With this AHL team, before we close out today's segment and show, they want success and they also want the development of players, right? On this AHL team, I think a little bit more in season 2 for Cassidy. He needs to familiarize himself with the players and just not always depend on everyone So who do you think can fit in this role? No, he knows his system, and then he has to find players that fit the system. Yes, and you made a terrific point about Ryan Craig and bridging the gap, though, as well. But again, you're stuck in the middle here where you have to have success, but you also have to develop players. And hopefully Ryan Craig can get that done, because I think they just needed a different voice in that locker room, down with the baby horsies or whatever you're calling them these days, the town criers or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% on the ball with everything right there. And, you know, it's one thing when your team is not in your same city across the country, then sure, you can rely on film, you can rely on conversations with your coach. But literally, the gap from America First Credit Union, America First Arena down in Henderson, former Lifeguard Arena, and then City National, you're talking 25 minutes, as long as you don't hit any traffic on the curve going right by about Eastern or so. It's not that difficult for Cassidy to make the drive down and watch some practices himself. I'm sure he probably has. I've never seen him down there, but I don't spend a lot of time around the Silver Knights. So, but I'd have to assume that he's seen a little bit more. And I think Ryan Craig, like you said, going to bridge the gap. And, you know, Ryan Craig can speak Coach Cassidy's language, whatever that is. I don't know, South Beach, Bruce language, whatever that is. And basically say, hey, I know this is what you like in a player. Keaton Korczak is going to bring this element versus where Braden Hall's not going to have this.
Don't forget, coming up at tomorrow's show, we will have WTF. That's what,
Already?
It's Friday already. It's Friday. Very, very short week. This 3-day Golic work week, man, just flew by.
3-day Golic work week.
I
work a week in 2 days.
I know, exactly. Same here. It's so funny. By noon, it's already, I've put in eight hours, and people are like, what?
Oh yeah. My work day is probably 8 hours from 6 until 2:30 in the afternoon. And then usually from 5 to 10. That's a traditional work day for me.
We appreciate everyone tuning in, especially our everydayers, the folks that put up with us each and every day.
Godspeed.
We'll see you again tomorrow. For my man, Chris Golic, I'm Tony Cardasco from Las Vegas, home of the MSG Sphere and Cowabunga Bay. No, that's Henderson. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Take care.